We're going to start by reading the disability statement. This meeting is accessible to people with disabilities. Microphones or telephones will be used by all speakers. Large print materials are available upon request. If you would like either of these accommodations, please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833. The notice of non-discrimination rights and protections to beneficiaries with regard to federal Title VI non-discrimination protections and the state non-discrimination protections is posted in this meeting room and is available on the Old Colony Planning Council website. Please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833 for more information. Thank you. Can we get a roll call, Bill?
Yes, sir. Abington,
John?
Yes. Just don't do the readings.
Avon,
Avon is here.
thank you. Bridgewater,
Shane O'Brien, Town of Bridgewater.
thanks, Shane. Brockton, Duxbury, East Bridgewater, Easton,
Dave Field.
thank you, Dave.
Greg Swan.
Thank you, Greg. Halifax, Hanover, Hanson, Kingston, Pembroke, Plymouth,
Rick Bossy, Plymouth.
thanks, Rick. Plimpton, Stoughton, West Bridgewater, Whitman,
Dan Salvucci, Whitman.
thanks, Dan. Brockton Area Transit,
Michael Lambert is here.
thanks, Mike.
And Kelly Force.
Thanks, Kelly. Gatra,
Here, Mary Ellen DeFrias.
thank you. MassDOT District 5,
Hi, everyone. Barbara LaChantia.
hi, Barbara. MassDOT Office of Transportation Planning. And Walk Boston, I'm sorry, I always say that. Walk Massachusetts. Mass Bike. And that is the roll call. And I'd also like to welcome Bob Smith and welcome and recognize Bob from Senator Michael Brady's office. I think you all remember Al, who was a frequent guest here at our JTC meetings. He recently retired from Senator Brady's office, and we're happy to, excited to welcome Bob to our meetings.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. Moving on to item 2, any public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 3, minutes of August 7th, 2025 meeting.
I'll make a motion to accept Dan from Whitman.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, Bill?
Yes, sir. Abington,
Yes.
Avon,
Yes.
Bridgewater,
Abstain.
Brockton, Duxbury, East Bridgewater, Easton, Halifax, Hanover, Hanson, Kingston,
Steve,
Pembroke, Plymouth, Plimpton, Stoughton, West Bridgewater, Whitman,
Yes.
and MassDOT District 5.
Yes.
And do we have anyone from MassDOT OTP yet? Nope. Okay. And Walk Massachusetts and Mass Bike.
hi, Mass Bike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Item number 4, communications. And I believe that's Sean.
Yes, Mr. Chair, that is me. The first item on the communications packet for this month is the FTA rail grade crossing safety webinar will be hosted September 17th at 3 p.m. and it will be discussing strategies to improve the safety of drivers and pedestrians near transit tracks and trains. And please follow the link in the staff report to register for the webinar. Next item is a MassDOT Rail and Transit Division announcement. Schedules for the fall 2025 transit grant applications. New application is Microtransit and Last Mile Transit Grant Program. It opens September 5th, tomorrow, and is due by November 7th. There's $10 million in total funds available. The next is the fiscal year 26 Community Transit Grant Program Operating and Mobility Management Cycle. Opens and closes the same date, September 5th and November 7th. And this grant is for providing funding to organizations for projects to expand mobility for older adults, people with disabilities, and low-income individuals. And then the next item is the fiscal year 26 Community Transit Grant Program Vehicle Cycle. It opens September 25th and is due November 21st. Transit authorities, municipalities, including councils on aging, as well as nonprofits are eligible for fully accessible vans to enhance their mobility for older adults and people with disabilities. And for any information, please visit the hyperlinks in the staff reports. The next item is a Safe Routes to School infrastructure program announcement. Applications for their infrastructure projects will be accepted from Wednesday, September 3rd to Friday, October 17th. To access the application, please log into your MapHit account. And if you do not have one, you can request one. The next item is Special Commission on Micromobility. Their next meeting is Tuesday, September 16th from 10 a.m. to noon at 10 Park Plaza in Boston. Next item is a Federal Funds and Infrastructure Office announcement. Their next Federal Funds Partnership meeting will be held September 23rd at 2 p.m. And to register for this meeting, please visit the hyperlink in the staff report. The next item is the 2025 Moving Together Conference. It will be held October 28th from 7:45 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the Sheraton Boston Hotel. To register, please visit the hyperlink in the staff report. And that is communications, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sean. Moving on to item 5, reports. A, Brockton Area Regional Transit Authority, BAT.
Thank you, Chair. 3 updates today. First is we've had a very good return to school and a resulting ridership increase for our services. Of particular note has been an increase in students and or staff commuting from Brockton to Bridgewater State via transit, which we are ascribing to both the affordability of transit, but also the general affordability of secondary education or higher education in the Brockton area between Massasoit and Bridgewater State, given recent changes to funding for students. So that's been good to see. We'll keep an eye on that. Second is we continue to advertise for our overnight commuting subsidy program via Uber. So if you know anyone who's working a second or third shift work job that uses Uber, Lyft, or taxi to commute, we have a program that subsidizes Uber trips. And third, every 3 to 4 years, the state's RTAs conduct comprehensive regional transit plans. We take a step back and evaluate our systems, our goals, our performance. So we're doing that right now. GATRA's doing that right now. The first of our focus groups is today at 1. OCPC will be there ably representing these member communities, but feel free to drop, if you're interested, feel free to put your name in the chat and we'll send you an invite to the focus group at 1 o'clock today. Those are my updates.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item 5B, Greater Attleboro Taunton Regional Transit Authority, GATRA.
Right, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So building on Mike's report, we are also working on our comprehensive service. We have had one meeting so far. We have a second one coming up on October 1st. So also if anyone's interested, reach out and let me know. As you might be aware, we run some different kinds of services across our 30 communities. So this process is extremely important to us so that we can make sure that we are putting the right services in the right communities. Let me know if anyone has any questions or comments on that, especially if you're a GATRA community. The second thing is we are very excited to see that we have had strong ridership on the Gateway Link, which connects Brockton, Taunton, and Fall River with stops at the VA hospital and Bristol Community College's main campus. Again, as Mike pointed out, the affordability of education right now in Massachusetts has created a great opportunity for us to partner and provide an affordable way for students to get to these opportunities. So we're excited to see the strong ridership coming out of there, and we will continue to evaluate that over the next several months and see how long we can keep this project going. I'm very excited about it. And those are the updates from GATRA.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 6, old business. A, federal fiscal year 2025 to 2029 Transportation Improvement Program implementation tip. I believe that's Bill.
Yep, thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
So this being the final month of this federal fiscal year 2025, this is our final update of this particular improvement program. It was generally successful year. As everyone knows, unfortunately, the Brockton job at Route 123 at Plymouth Street here in the downtown, that was unable to be advertised this year. But the good news is that we were able to program that for 2026 in our upcoming tip. And from the updates I've seen from project management and the designer on that project, it's looking good to be advertised in the upcoming federal fiscal year. So that is certainly good news. As for other highway projects, the Route 138 improvement project in Easton, including the intersection of Elm Street, that was advertised with the notice to proceed issued. Phase 2 of the Route 138 corridor in Stoughton, that was advertised with a notice to proceed issued. So it was a successful tip year, and looking forward to rolling out the next program beginning next month. If anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Bill. Is this an action item?
Nope.
Okay,
Just information.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Moving on to agenda item number 7, new business. A, age-friendly communities.
Hmm.
Presentation by Joanne Zygmunt, AICP.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, folks. I'm Joanne Zygmunt with Old Colony Planning Council. Thanks for inviting me along today to tell you a little bit about the age-friendly work that we've been doing in our communities. I am going to share my screen, but I think I need permission first. So that
Yes.
request's been sent. Perfect.
Yep, you should be good now.
You got it.
All right. Let me share my screen. Can everybody see that slide?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Okay. So I'm going to talk to you for about 10 minutes today about OCPC's work with age and dementia-friendly planning, also referred to as livable communities. If you have any questions, we can take those at the end of the presentation. And of course, you can follow up with any of us here at OCPC for more info on any of this stuff. I just skipped much further ahead than it was supposed to. There we go. Okay. So why plan for livable communities? So you guys have probably all heard the statistics frequently mentioned in both the media, state plans that are coming out. Our population is aging in our communities here in our region, as well as in Massachusetts and the nation as a whole. 24% of our state right now is over the age of 60, and that proportion is set to rise in the years to come. Similarly, dementia cases are rising. From 2019 to the projection in 2050, cases are predicted to be more than double. So these two things, these demographic trends and these health trends are important for us to consider in our community planning work. The term age-friendly was really originated by the World Health Organization, and here in the US, the AARP. What the term refers to is a livable community that enables everybody in it to thrive at every age and every life stage. So although oftentimes age-friendly is thought of as, oh, this is something that's about 60 plus or 65 plus folks in our community, what we're finding and what we know actually is that a lot of the stuff that age-friendly communities and livable communities is about is actually good for people of all ages. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. The focus, however, is on certain community features that have a particular impact on the well-being of older adults. So AARP has established 8 domains. They call it their domains of livability, which you see on this slide here. These are the 8 focus areas that AARP is encouraging communities to look at when they're planning for the demographic and health changes that we know are here and will continue to increase in years to come. Transportation is a big one. Housing, social participation, respect and social inclusion, civic participation and employment, communication and information, community support and health services, outdoor spaces and buildings. You'll note that about half of these roughly relate largely to infrastructure in a community, the built environment, but the other half are very much more social. And that's both one of the interesting things about age-friendly planning, and also one of the challenging things is that unlike traditional master plans in a community, which often focus on capital planning and housing and transportation and open space, the other half of this wheel here really focuses a lot on the social supports and the people power and infrastructure that's in a community. So the age-friendly process in a community will bring a lot more to the table when it comes to planning with a variety of stakeholders and from different perspectives than kind of a traditional planning process will. Dementia-friendly, sometimes the two perspectives or lenses are taken together. So when we do an age-friendly action plan with a community here at OCPC, we'll also look at it from a dementia-friendly lens as well. Some communities plan separately for both aspects. That's fine too. But the Dementia-Friendly America, a national nonprofit organization, describes a dementia-friendly community as one that is informed, safe, and respectful of individuals living with dementia, as well as their families and caregivers. And it's a community that provides supportive options to foster quality of life. So they look at lots of different aspects in a community that are outside of what a municipality would typically plan for. A lot of the Dementia-Friendly America focus areas are on educating, for example, businesses and employers on how to recognize dementia and how to interact with folks who are experiencing it. Similarly, around legal and financial planning services, emergency planning and first response, a lot of it is about awareness and training. But there are aspects related to housing and transportation in particular that are actually very much within what a municipality should be thinking about in its planning efforts as well. We'll talk more about that. So how does OCPC support our municipalities? We help in several ways. So usually the first step for a municipality is to achieve AARP designation and to join their national network of age-friendly communities. So we can help communities apply for that designation. Dementia-Friendly America also has a pledge that communities can sign, and there's a network to join also that provides resources and additional support. So we'll help our municipalities with this first step. And then we'll also, if they don't already have an existing board or committee under which this topic is felt to be suitable, we help them establish age and dementia-friendly committees. Normally, we'll call them like a Livable Kingston committee or a Livable Duxbury working group. But the idea is that this is something that becomes ingrained in municipality. They do have a commission or a board that's responsible for it and oversees it. And often the efforts that are led through the development of these initiatives are volunteer driven. We also help our communities understand their needs and opportunities, and we do that largely by helping develop a Livable for All action plan. So the action plans are very much like a traditional TANing document. We establish visions, goals, strategies, and actions. What you see on the screen right now is an example from Duxbury. But the process is very participatory. So we do a community survey. The community survey also helps us identify which of the 8 AARP domains of livability are most important in a community. Some communities in Massachusetts and across the nation have tried to tackle all 8 areas at once in a single plan. We find that to be too much, way too overwhelming and very unwieldy to then try and take action on. So we conduct the community survey, and through that survey and in collaboration with the committee that's leading the initiative, we'll pick 3 or 4 domains to focus on for the first stage of a community's action plan. In the communities that we've worked in so far, housing and transportation and communication and information have been super important. So typically communities in our region are picking those to work on, and the surveys will support those priorities. So that's how we identify the needs, is through a survey. We also do focus groups and interviews in our communities as well too, depending on what we're really trying to learn. We'll look at the data, we'll look at existing reports and plans and build those into the Livable for All action plan. And then once we have that plan in place, it's up to the communities to move forward on it and implement it. What we do after that point is we know now from our work with that community what their priorities are. So when we find or see or come across any grants or other funding support that might help a community implement anything in their plan, we will help them. We'll notify them that that opportunity exists, and we'll help them apply potentially for their grant as well too, depending on what our resources are at the time. And throughout the whole process, the focus really is on capacity building. So we're really trying to build volunteer power, helping residents become comfortable in the role of a committee member or a chair of a committee, understanding that they do have power or authority for agency, I guess is a better word, to actually work with municipal staff on some of these issues and deliver some of these objectives that they've identified in the plan. And it's a participatory process. So we still go through public meetings, we seek public input, we'll talk to different businesses and nonprofits and other organizations in a community to learn more about what they need. There are several municipalities in the Old Colony region that have started working both on age-friendly planning as well as dementia-friendly planning. The communities that OCPC has worked with specifically, we've worked with the town of Easton to develop their action plan. We worked in Duxbury to develop their action plan, and they're actually now moving on to developing through their volunteers part 2 to that action plan that will address all of the domains now. And we're currently, most recently, we started working in Kingston, both to get them designated as well as to help them develop an action plan. So there's a lot of initiatives underway in our region. Some of other communities have also started work. So Brockton, for example, and Plymouth have both done assessments, essentially surveys of their community to identify needs. And now they're thinking about how they can do the next step of actually developing a plan. So you might think some of this might sound like, all right, well, we do master plans and we do housing production plans and we do open space plans. So how is this any different from just doing it as part of those plans? And the answer to that is that it's really not an either or. What we encourage all of our communities to do is consider age-friendly and dementia-friendly principles in all of the planning that they do. So when they're doing a master plan or if they're doing an open space plan, here are resources and here's a lens through which to look at this topic from a different perspective. The main thing really that's different between the age-friendly planning process and more traditional planning projects really comes down to these 6 things here. Traditional planning often talks about an average adult user. When you're looking at things through a dementia-friendly or an age-friendly lens, you're really looking at it more from a range of ages and abilities. So it's not about the average, it's actually looking across the board at different needs within different groups. Mobility, generally speaking in traditional planning, although this is definitely changing now, it was always a focus on road capacity and traffic flow. Now in transportation planning or mobility planning, there's a lot more talk and a lot more action related to walkability and slower speeds. Infrastructure, so in age and dementia friendly planning, we're not talking about the minimum, which is your ADA standards. We're actually going above and beyond that to provide environments that are predictable, intuitive, and comfortable. So we talk about universal design principles. We talk about wayfinding and how that might be different for somebody who's experiencing dementia as opposed to somebody who is not, and what that means for a community and their planning for these different efforts. Wayfinding, I just mentioned that. It's a little bit different when you're talking about it in terms of dementia-friendly design. Engagement, we're looking at targeted input, as I mentioned before, from older adults, from caregivers, from service providers. So it's really looking at differences in a lot of detail within the population and community. And then the outcomes, in some cases, are similar, depending, I think, on how you define planning nowadays. Traditional planning back in the day used to be about efficient systems and growth. I think that's changed. Now we're talking a lot more about participation. We're talking about health equity. We're talking about extending people's ability to live independently. So how does this apply to transportation? We could spend a lot of time talking about it. A lot of it is stuff that is already underway. Your complete streets work is very much from an age and dementia friendly lens as well too. So streetscapes, sidewalks, crossings, lighting, all these things are in many transportation programs already underway. One of the things I think that from an age and dementia friendly perspective is more emphasized is signage. There is a lot of really good practice around how to make signage, not just street signage, but I mean simple things like trails, your trail markers and your wayfinding to certain, commercial centers in your community or colleges or whatever it might be. Better ways to design that so that it's easier for folks who may be experiencing dementia to be able to make sense of those. Benches are a huge thing, I think, that often come up in a community. They're not really yet looked at in as much depth in traditional transportation planning as planning through a lens of age-friendly and dementia-friendly places on them. The idea isn't just about getting somebody from point A to point B, but it's about enabling somebody to experience that route in a way that is suitable and functional to whatever their needs or abilities might be. So benches come up a lot, benches on, needing more benches on sidewalks or other major paths that people might be taking. Snow and ice policy removal policies. I know we've all got them in our communities. They become much more important if you're looking at a community through the perspective of age-friendly or dementia-friendly. As you can see from some of these quotes down here, somebody avoids walking downtown because the sidewalks aren't even. Similarly, I remember in one of our focus groups, we had a quote from a woman who said, "I don't go out in the winter because everything's icy and slippery and not, cleared for me." So it really does impact quality of life for folks. And then roadway design for visibility and slower speeds. I think that's an obvious and super important one. AARP, and I'll include a slide at the end with resources, and the Dementia Friendly America organization have a lot of resources that help you look at transportation from these lenses. So we'll point you to those. And as I mentioned, what municipalities can do. So aside from actually going through the process of getting AARP designation, signing the Dementia Friendly America Pledge, putting together an action plan, many of our communities are moving towards dementia awareness training for municipal staff So for example, this is something that Duxbury recently offered to municipal staff, so that they can be aware of how to recognize signs of dementia and how they might need to respond to their customers, constituents, residents in different ways to help them progress whatever issue it is that they're trying to resolve for them. Integrating
Frank.
ADF into planning, mentioned that as well too. You don't have to do a separate plan. You absolutely should include it in all of your planning efforts. Doing a separate plan can help do this. Collaboration, we found in the communities that we've worked in, sometimes the different municipal departments aren't necessarily coordinating with each other on transportation as a service in their community. So the councils on aging sometimes are working really well with DPWs, but sometimes when you talk to the two of them, their priorities might be different, and there needs to be some better conversation there. Lastly, emphasizing that residents of all ages and abilities need to be involved in project design. If you're doing an ADA assessment and you don't have anybody who actually is experiencing any sort of disability as part of that project, then you probably should, if you're really going to get that point of view and perspective. So that's all I've got. The resources are listed down here. We have a webpage on our website that gives you pretty much the same information about how we work with our communities and what we're currently doing. AARP has an enormous amount of livable communities resources across all of their different domains. So definitely check out that website. Dementia Friendly America, not as well developed a framework as age friendly planning, but they have some excellent resources, particularly around training and HR and raising awareness of dementia, especially for resident facing services in a municipality. And then lastly, the Massachusetts Healthy Aging Collaborative is making some great strides statewide to pull together resources from all of these different organizations. There is a state plan for healthy aging as well. So Mass Healthy Aging Collaborative is definitely another site to check out. And that's all I've got. If anybody has any questions, happy to take those. And of course, you can reach out to us at any time.
Thank you, Joanne. Any questions, comments?
I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Joanne for this presentation and commend her and everyone in that department, from Joanne to Lori to Rhiannon to Jason. As Lori, I'm sorry, as Joanne just pointed out a moment ago, the age friendliness and dementia friendliness, it is slowly being more incorporated more and more into transportation planning, but there are things that we don't always think about, like Joanne mentioned, like the benches or the off-road wayfinding to trails and commercial centers. These are things that we may not always think about. So we're really fortunate to have this group of professionals in Old Colony Planning Council, along with most we also have the Area Agency on Aging housed within OCPC as well. So we're really fortunate to have these colleagues, and when we do these corridor studies or local technical assistance study, we're able to consult with them and make sure we're not missing anything. So it was a great presentation, and I just wanted to thank Joanne for that.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. Moving on to item 7B, federal fiscal year 2025 Old Colony MPO corridor studies, findings and draft recommendations. Route 28 Avon corridor study. Ray?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are going to, our agenda here is that we're going to talk about the 3 corridor studies. I'm going to talk about Route 28 corridor study first. We're at the stage where we are coming to completion of these studies, and I'm going to give a brief presentation on the conclusions and recommendations on the Route 28 corridor study, and I'm going to pass it on to Kojong afterwards for Route 104. So I'm just starting off with this is going to be a summary of the TIP projects. There's two tip projects in the Route 28 corridor. The Route 28 corridor study consists of Route 28 in Avon, which is 1.7 miles, and we focused on the corridor conditions, operating conditions, and 7 intersections, key intersections within the corridor. There are 2 tip projects within the study area. The first one is at the intersection, involves 2 intersections, Route 28 at Harrison Boulevard and Route 28 at East and West Spring Street. It's at 25% design right now. The other tip project is corridor improvements from north from that point, from East-West Spring Street all the way to Randolph Line, and that is not currently being, although it's been approved by PRC, it's not actively moving ahead. But I've also have a summary from our study. We do have corridor-wide recommendations, and what we found is we need to improve sidewalk surface conditions, sidewalk connections, and consider possible off-road multi-use paths and separate bike lanes. Enhance pedestrian crossings, consider rectangular rapid flashing beacons, pedestrian hybrid beacons at selected locations. Access management is a big issue in the corridor. There are a lot of driveway spaces that interrupt sidewalks and also create turning movements, extra turning movements that end up in crashes. Lane and turning capacity enhancement at intersections. I'll talk about those at a little further on at the intersections, and traffic calming measures. And the other thing about pedestrian improvements in the corridor, we found the sidewalks not in good conditions, and as I said, a lot of missing connections in sidewalks. There's a lot of people that like to walk to the Walmart along there, and there's a lot of barriers to walking. And also there's a bus route that goes, bad bus route that goes to the Walmart. And it's very important that sidewalks are in good conditions, because people who use buses, they begin and end their trip using sidewalks and sidewalk crossings. So safe walking is very important for transit use, as well as people using alternative modes, not taking their car all the time. And we found out through our survey that on Route 28, there's a lot of people that walk to the Walmart. People talked about that in our public survey. And as well as we can see worn paths along Route 28 where people will walk into the Walmart. Next, please. So I'm going to try to go real quickly at each intersection, starting from the north. There were 7 key intersections that we looked at. The first 2 were in Avon Center. The first one was Main Street, Route 28 at East-West High Street. There's this intersection we found has poor intersection alignment, and there's the yellow and red clearance are not adequate for vehicles to clear the intersection. There's emergency preemption. There's a fire station in the downtown. The emergency preemption is manual at the it's not mounted on the intersections. It's actually in the fire station itself. And there's also long queues between the 2 intersections in the downtown on the northbound side, where people come northbound on Route 28, or they're coming from west, the West Main Street intersection rather, onto Route 28 north, and there's a lot of weaving as they get to the Main Street at East High Street, West High Street intersection. So there's a lot of side swipe crashes and rear end crashes during the peak hour that vehicles back up. The other important issue at this intersection is that there are no there's no protection for left turns on the northbound side, or the coming from East High Street taking a left. So the improvements were to reassess the signal timing and phasing and lane assignment, to consider protected left turn phases on northbound and westbound approaches, and coordinate the timing and phasing with the other signalized intersection in the downtown, which is at the West Main Street intersection. Also sidewalk widening and improvements to the pedestrian and bicycle accommodations. There are no bicycle accommodations. And for the long term, consider realigning the intersection through reconstruction. The other intersection at West Main Street and Route 28 in the downtown, it again it's very poorly aligned, and there's a safety hazard for pedestrians. That there's a monument on the island, and as pedestrians try to cross West Main Street, that vehicles coming southbound, they take a right turn really fast, and the pedestrians are coming between parked cars. So that's very dangerous right there. So the improvements were to again reassess the alignment, extend the sidewalk, or remove that not remove the island, but extend the sidewalk and remove the right turn to allow it for a 90-degree right turn rather than have that inside the island close to the sidewalk. And again, pole-mounted emergency vehicle preemption. Next, please. The downtown redesign objectives. The town had a consultant do a preliminary concept for redesigning the downtown, and the objectives were to reduce congestion, better bicycle pedestrian safety access, intersection safety, as I discussed earlier, and keep the parking and add to the streetscape and the amenity. Next, please. So this is the preliminary consultant concept that the town of Avon had, and north is to the right, and the East High Street, West High Street intersection at Route 28 is to the right. You can see bump outs for better pedestrian crossing. It makes a shorter crossing across the 4 lanes on Route 28. You can see the alignment is not exactly 90 degrees. And then as you go to the left, that's more south to the West Main Street intersection. You see that monument in the center, and you can see that the existing right turn island there would be the sidewalk would be extended to remove that, and people taking a right turn would have to do it at a 90-degree angle to make it a lot safer. And parking actually would be kept because there's on that side on the west side of Route 28 in the downtown, there are businesses there that the parking is very important to them. Next, please. The other 2 intersections as we go further south, East Main Street, which is Route 28 at East-West Spring Street, and East Main Street at Harrison Boulevard. That was the TIP project that's currently at 25%. The important issues at these intersections is that East Main Street and east at Route 28 at East Spring Street and West Spring Street used to be on the top 200 crash location in 2021. And the improvements that are going to happen is that it's going to be signalized, and that's going to be coordinated with the Harrison Boulevard intersection. They're going to reconstruct sidewalks and add bike lanes, a multi-use path along Route 28, reconstruct the curbing and improve the turning radius for trucks. And again, the northbound approach is going to have a exclusive right turn lane because there's a lot of people that come from Harrison Boulevard from Route 28, and they're headed east, and they take a left turn onto Route 28, and then they take a quick right turn onto East Spring Street. So that's a very heavy move. And then in the PM peak, it's kind of reversed in the opposite direction. They come from East Spring Street take a left turn, and then they take a quick right onto Harrison Boulevard. At the Harrison Boulevard intersection, there's always long queues on the left turn movements from Harrison Boulevard going eastbound, and also on the Route 28 northbound approach. The left turns, in fact, on the northbound approach, they go back, and the storage lane is too short, so they're going to double that storage lane on the northbound approach, as well as on the Harrison Boulevard eastbound approach. And the other important improvement here is they're going to reconstruct the sidewalks and bicycle lanes. When we went out there and looked at the sidewalks, there's sidewalks out there, but they're very narrow, and there's a lot of impediments on the sidewalks, like utility poles and other things, and bushes have kind of overgrown on the sidewalks, so it's not very conducive to walking. Next, please. And this is the 25% design. And the important things, as I said, were to coordinate, to add signals to East Spring Street and West Spring Street. West Spring Street will be actually made a dead end, so there's no cut throughs from West Main Street. And again, the two left turns from Harrison Boulevard and the two left turns on the northbound approach to Harrison Boulevard from Route 28, and the exclusive right turn to East Spring Street. Next, please. And as we're going further south, the remaining three intersections that we looked at were Memorial Drive, Route 28 at East Main Street. Again, there's poor intersection alignment, poor visibility of this intersection. So as you're driving on Route 28, it's just south of Harrison Boulevard. You don't even realize the intersection is there. Again, missing sidewalk links, poor sidewalk conditions, and it lacks bicycle accommodation. The improvements that we come up with were to install overhead flashing beacons for intersection visibility, so that people understand that there's cars going in and out of this intersection, and also to improve the sidewalks and provide bicycle accommodation, and consider implementing access management, because there's a lot of driveways that are unnecessarily wide right there, and that adds extra movements, extra turning movements, and it also drive a confusion. And as we get to the last intersections, which are at Walmart, the signalized intersection at the Walmart operates actually under very good conditions, but there's very poor pedestrian accommodation, and there's no bicycle or pedestrian. There are sidewalks. Sidewalks are in very poor condition, and the Walmart has another drive which is unsignalized, and it's right turn out only, but there's a lot of left turns that come out of there. So they need to either sign it or put up maybe a raised island, so that people can't go left out of that unsignalized intersection. Next, please. And the other issue that we found out there was there's a culvert that goes under Route 28 Trout Brook, and this is the East Main Street at Route 28 intersection, which you can see how skewed the intersection is. But south of that, there is actually no sidewalk where that red block is that I put there, and that would be a good opportunity to put a temporary pedestrian bridge, because what happens if you're walking along the east side of Route 28, there's a guardrail there, and it actually pushes you out into the northbound travel lane, pushes pedestrians into the northbound travel lane of Route 28, just north of Ladge Drive. And we know that there's people that walk to the Walmart, because we can see worn paths, and we also did a public survey, and people tell us that they do walk to the Walmart. So that's the culvert, and that's a good opportunity to help get pedestrians over that part of Route 28 safely. Next, please. Our transportation team did they did a survey of the culvert, and this is the culvert that's right there where that red block was underneath Route 28. And they assessed it for wildlife movement, for connectivity, for aquatic connectivity, and it came out poor, that it's poor crossing conditions for wildlife. But also they did a visual assessment of the condition of the culvert, and they took pictures, and there's degradation in the concrete. So this is when they do replace this culvert, and it's a great opportunity above that person. When you see that person with the measuring there, they could actually widen. That's where the guardrail is, and basically the northbound lane is right there. The inside northbound lane on Route 28 is right there, but they could widen that and make that into a multi-use path for pedestrians and bicycles. It's a good opportunity when they replace that culvert. Next, please. And these are just some temporary bridge concepts. So before they replace the culvert, they can do something like this for the time being, for the interim, so that when people do walk along there, that they're not pushed out into the northbound travel lane. Next, please. And that's in a quick, brief summary, the findings and recommendations of the Route 28 corridor study. So if anyone has any questions or comments, we'll be glad to take them.
I could mention that our Rick Jordan, Avon Town Planner, I could mention our select board's going to consider sending a memo or a letter to the District 5 about the Ladge Drive sidewalk issue over that culvert in red that you highlighted. And that'll be considered at tonight's select board meeting.
That's great. Yeah. If there are no other comments, I think Route 104 is up next.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Ray. Hi, everyone. My name is Guo Chang Li. I'm helping Route 104 corridor study in Bridgewater. Next, please. Before I start, I just want to express appreciation to MassDOT and town of Bridgewater. And I realize Shane and Barbara here. Thank you. You guys' dedication and support from data collection, analysis, preliminary findings, and implementation reviews support. So thank you. So the wonderful corridor running in general east to west direction in Bridgewater. It's the small portion. It's under MassDOT jurisdiction, and most of it is under community Bridgewater. So this is just general. I'm not going to go through all of them. Very brief update on the progress, and mostly it's the finding and recommendation as well as the methodology. Next, please. So we use a synchro traffic modeling and simulation tool to identify the congestion issues. So this is a simply list with all the output. So we identify a couple locations that are operating under the capacity, as well as the delay estimate and intersection capacity utility percentage. Also will be included in our draft report. Next, please. So we also used enterprise data platform, such as INRIS data, to identify any recurrent traffic congestion patterns along the corridor. So as we find out, the portion east of Route 24, west of Haywood, constantly under level service F during the AM and peak hour. Next, please. So as a conventional transportation corridor study, we also include the detailed safety analysis by using the collision data. So we analyze over 20 different locations, how the collision occur, the type of collision, severity, and the year, just trying to understand the pattern and the changes throughout a little bit longer time period. The multimodal transportation planning is one of the key finding and the process for the corridor study. There is no bike and ped system along Route 104. Our finding is including the sidewalk availability, connectivity, and accessibility for bike and ped activity. One thing I want to point out is we identified several key destinations for bicycling activities, including the Nakasset Greenway. As you all know, Route 104 Bridgewater also is a home to BSU. As you can imagine, a lot of bicycle activity, as well as the MBTA line crossing Route 104 as well. Those are the area that we're focusing on, how we can provide recommendations for consideration for the future improvements. Next, please. In general, we do believe multiple things could be done throughout the corridor as a system to improve the safety and bicycle and pedestrian uses, including continuous bicycle pedestrian network. We are in the process of forming a plan. Any on-road or off-the-road bicycle facility. At individual crossings, we do not see a lot of safer accommodation for pedestrian crossing Route 104. We look into the options such as rapid flashing beacon and the Hawks signal. Those kind of elevated, safer crossing for pedestrians. In terms of access management, it's a big topic. We also will choose a location that we feel with higher priority that should or could consider any improvements such as a spacing of the driveways, curb and radius improvement, all type of things. And we're looking to individual intersections. How do we improve the capacity? Such as adding turn lane if they under warrant. Traffic calming. Throughout the corridor study field audit, it does present to us that a lot of area that vehicle driving at the highest speed that is not safe for more small scale road users. In the speed management could be another option for consideration. Just like Ray pointed out, we do have a culvert assessment team in OCPC, and they were able to identify a few locations for culvert improvement, including Booyah Ave, also close to the Hooper Street. It's under critical condition, as well as other couple locations that could be considered any infrastructure improvements, be part of a reception project in potential. Next, please. I just outlined, the major intersection that needing improvement. So I'm not going to go through all those. So in general, we included the public opinion and the work with the community to identify those key locations, what kind of things we could improve, including the geometric improvement, signage enhancement, any operation obstruction of the sidelines, we're going to include in the report. Next, please. This is also another extension of the top 10 location that will need any short-term or mid-term improvements. Next, please. I'm happy to answer any questions.
When was the intersection of Elm and Pleasant Street last redone? It looks in fairly good shape from Google Earth.
Yep, thank you. If you go back, Sean, could you go back to the table? Yep. So Elm Street, it's improved very recently, a few years ago, and very thanks for your comment. So through our study, looks like at the Elm Street, there is a congestion issue, recurring congestion issues, and the PM. One thing that from our study, we found out the lane job on the east side of Elm Street could cause a little bit problem for the signal progressing. So in the PM peak hour, it seemed to be the starting point of a congestion all the way to the northbound ramp on Route 24. Yes, I saw Shane have your hands up.
Yeah, that was done, I believe, I think in the last 6 or 7 years. I think there was some MassWorks money, as well as there was a diff established in the Elm Street area to pay for some of that. But yeah, it was done recently through some state MassWorks funding, and as well as I think some state funding as well.
Thank you.
Yep, I just also want to point out the couple things that we are trying in OCPCs. We use drone flying technology, dash camera recording of the corridor. So there are a lot of great things we offer for those corridor studies.
And to follow up on the Elm Street intersection, I just took a look at Street View, and it looks like it was sometime between 2019 and 2021, according to the imagery that's available.
Without any further questions, we'll pass on to Bill for the Route 38 corridor study. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach Ong. Thanks, Ray. So I'll make this fairly quick. I know we're running a little bit behind schedule. So just like the other two studies, the study is wrapping up, and we've developed a draft report, and we're moving ahead on presenting these. We've already met with MassDOT to present our draft findings, and we'll have a public meeting in Plymouth in a couple of weeks. So this shows the study area. So you can see it's a large area, Route 3A, in the southern part of Plymouth, running from Center Street on the northern end, all the way down to the Bourne Town line. And we also covered the that spur of Herring Pond Road that comes off of 3A and also goes down to the Bourne Town line. Next slide, please. So when the initial consultation with the town before this corridor study even kicked off, the first thing that was brought to our attention was a concern for vulnerable roadway users, particularly pedestrians along this corridor. It was mentioned that a lot of pedestrians are crossing the roadway in a couple of coastal zones, the Long Beach area and the Pilgrim Beach area, as well as walking in the roadway at some points where the sidewalk isn't so great and perhaps not even existent. So this was an immediate concern, and when we did our public outreach, we got over 400 responses, and overwhelmingly the number one concern echoed the town's concerns of pedestrian safety. So that immediately became the focus of this corridor study. When we looked at the crash history, there wasn't a lot of existing crash data that would have jumped out to us that would be alarming. But when we looked at the overall land development pattern in that area, as well as existing traffic conditions, particularly traffic speeds, and we applied the safe systems approach, we immediately identified that this is multiple areas along this corridor are what we would call high risk for serious injuries and fatalities to vulnerable roadway users. And that became the focus. And so the next two slides, so this slide and then the next one as well, they're very similar. They're just different coastal zones that feature dense residential development and where there's a concentration of this pedestrian activity occurring. So applying that safe system approach, we know that We want to, ultimately, we'd like to get the travel speeds down on the roadway. Right now, in some spots, they're in the mid to upper 40 mph range, which immediately presents a high hazard to both pedestrians and bicyclists. A collision between a motorist and a pedestrian, for example, at 45 mph is going to have a very high chance of fatality. Ultimately, we want to get that speed, if we can, down to 30 mph to protect
Oh,
protect pedestrians and cyclists the best we can. So there are a couple ways we do that. So the short term and immediate things that can be done, low cost things, increase speed enforcement along the corridor, use the dynamic speed feedback signs, improve existing crossings with the like the RFPs, the flashing intense beacons that you can see at pedestrian crossings, using those. Longer term, higher cost investments that can be done. Like the best case scenario is to give pedestrians and cyclists their own space off of the roadway. So that would be a shared use path. That's often very expensive to construct and not always feasible because it depends on the right of way you have. But that would be ultimately the best option in terms of crossings. Using deflection, so using raised crosswalks to physically slow the traffic as they approach these crossings. Can channelize traffic a little bit. So using um, if you have to go with an on-road facility like an on-road bike lane, that would narrow down the travel lanes. Sometimes that has a traffic calming effect. So these are all options that we're looking at in these two coastal zone areas. So if we'll go to the next one. Again, the Pilgrim Beach area, another technique that we can use that I didn't mention, constructing roundabouts at intersections, even if it's not a mobility need, or congestion need, just the placement of roundabouts at a couple of key locations will physically slow down traffic. It's impossible to speed through a roundabout. It creates deflection. It also alerts the driver that you're coming into an area where you're going to have this activity. I had the opportunity to travel out west this summer in Colorado and Wyoming, and several places I saw this being used where they using roundabouts at intersections that aren't necessarily congested, but they're using them as traffic calming measures and seemed very effective. Next slide, please. Route 3A at Beaver Dam Road and White Horse Beach Road. This was one location where a crash pattern was picked up. It had a higher than average crash rate. And upon the town's request, we did do a more detailed dive into the crash pattern here. We obtained the police reports and did collision diagrams. We did notice a pattern of crashes occurring on one of the corners, the northwest corner. There's a convenience store and gas station there. A lot of the crashes occurring seem to be affiliated with that land use. Whether it's a courtesy crash, somebody stopping to let someone out or in, and then getting hit by another vehicle from behind, or in some cases, because there are two lanes there, there's a left turn lane. So the person in the right lane stops to let a vehicle out, and there's a vehicle coming in the left turn lane that can't see the car coming out, and collision results. So so we're going to work with the town and MassDOT to see how we can mitigate this, and most likely there'll be a road safety audit independent of this CARTA study to look at this in more detail. Route 3 at Manamet Point Road, congestion at this location was brought to our attention. And our recommendation is to work with the state to look at, to have a comprehensive engineering assessment of the phasing and timing of the traffic signals there. We had multiple comments about long delays here. It's a relatively new intersection. I want to say that was improved probably in the last 10 to 15 years, where it was previously unsignalized and it was signalized, and it may just be a case of the timing and phasing might have been effective at that point, but growth in the area has outpaced that phasing and timing, so perhaps it just needs to be updated. So we will work with MassDOT, who owns and maintains those traffic signals on that. And finally, so Route 3A at Herring Pond Road and Hedges Pond Road, there is an existing tip project. We actually had a pre-25% scoping meeting with MassDOT and the town and the design consultant yesterday. The Route 3A corridor improvements project will improve both of these intersections. So far, ICE Stage 1 is completed. It has identified either traffic signals or roundabout at either of both these intersections. The next stage of ICE will narrow that down and determine what's most best applicable there. But that's moving forward. And where there's a lot of community support for this project, a lot of legislative support, and we will obviously continue to work with the state and the town on programming this as we develop our develop our next tip. And so those are very quickly a summary of the recommendations coming out of this corridor study.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, Dan Salvucci, I have a question, a comment rather.
Sure.
Okay, one, when we're looking at redoing intersections, we have for pedestrian, walking, and bicycle paths, we need to consider what are truck routes and to be able to make a complete turn safely without possibly not being able to see somebody that might be in the bike lane. Because I know that there's been a couple of accidents, I know in the Boston area, where truck drivers can't even see them. The kids on the people are either walking or on a bike. Second of all, as far as adding a bike lane to a street like in 3A, to possibly slow the traffic down is like you're using bikers as a target. I just don't see that. I'm thinking if you have an area that's speed and you don't have the facilities to have a police officer there to give out tickets, maybe we need to start using cameras, seeing what speed cars are going, and get the plate number and administer speeding tickets. I know big cities do that. So, I mean, there might be one way to go to slow people down rather than using bikers, people on bikes to possibly slow people down so that they be able to do things. My observations.
Thank you. No, thank you. So the automated traffic enforcement, we fully support that. That's a core principle of the safe systems approach. It's been it's been a long haul, legal system wise, to get that rolled out in Massachusetts. There's a lot of challenges to that, but where we can, whether it's speeding or anything, using automated enforcement, and where police don't always have and often don't have the resources to
Right.
deploy, that'd be very effective. And so when we say, like, putting in bike lanes, so so for roadway, for facility like Route 3A, I should say, first and foremost, you know the ultimate preference would be always a shared use path, getting them off the roadway.
Yeah.
But that's not, and that the tip project that I just spoke of, the one in Cedarville, that they're doing exactly that. They're going to construct a shared use path between White Cliffs on the southern end, and then up to Shaw's on the northern end, which is the the project limits.
Yeah.
So, and something like that's always preferable, but it's not, depending on the right of way, depending on the landscape, it's not always possible. So we look at people will travel the roadway whatever the design speed is. It doesn't. I mean, you can make the speed limit 15 miles per hour. That if the roadway is not designed for that, they're not going to drive that. And
Yeah.
so when we talk about like narrowing travel lanes, that's what we're talking about. Like, how do we physically change the design speed of a roadway? But these are just ideas, and I appreciate your comments as always.
Okay, Bill. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you all for those great presentations. Must have taken a ton of work. We'll move on to agenda item number 8, other business. A, community local technical assistance studies. Bill?
Thanks, John. So this is really easy. I think that's the first time this has ever happened with this report, but we have cleared the deck, so to speak. We did not receive any requests for new studies this past month, and we have completed all of our studies for our communities. So if you have a local transportation need that you'd like Old Colony Planning Council to look at, this is a good time to get in touch with us.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Item 8B, staff reviews on ENFs, EIRs, and NPCs. Believe that's
Yes.
Kyle. Thank you,
Yeah,
Kyle.
that'll be me. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so we have one new project in Plymouth. It is the Plymouth Harbor Access Facility Improvements. And this project proposed coastal resiliency improvements to the infrastructure located at the Plymouth Harbor boat ramp on Water Street. Proposed work consists of installation of concrete flood walls, reconstructed seawalls, an inland extension to the existing concrete boat ramp, raising the existing parking lot and entrances, and improvements to the existing stormwater conveyance system, and installation of a new 80-foot ADA accessible gangway to access the floating docks. And we have a certificate for Bridgewater, the Lakeshore Center Phase 4 project. This is in regards to the NPC notice of project change and the final environmental impact report. And the certificate states that this project adequately and properly complies with MEPA. And then we have just some public notices. The first is in Plymouth, notice of application for a Chapter 91 waterways license. This is in regards to improvement dredging in and over the waters of the town brook. Next, in the town of Hanson, notice of application and issuance of a draft groundwater discharge permit. And this is for treated sanitary wastewater for the Stonebridge Commons condominiums. And the next one in Hanover, scope of work for a hydrogeologic evaluation. And this is proposed soil absorption system to be located at 476 Webster Street in Hanover. And the last one is in Kingston, notice of request for a site examination. This is actually an error on my part, but this is actually in regards to expanding public water supply from the South Coast River Basin. That was just a misprint on that last one. And that concludes my MEPA report.
Thank you, Kyle. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 8C, regional concerns and local community transportation issues. Okay, seeing none, motion to adjourn,
So move, Dan from Whitman.
second.
Second, Easton.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good day.